It was John Keats who suggested, "Touch has a memory." Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson. We'll see just how much a memory that is with the heartbeat of the internet. As John Keats said, touch has a memory, and a pretty remarkable memory at that. It was Robert Louis Stevenson who wrote, "There is no greater wonder than the way the face of a young woman fits in a man's mind and stays there, and he could never tell you why. It just seems it was the thing he wanted." Longfellow wrote, "It is difficult to know at what moment love begins. It is less difficult to know it has begun. 1,000 heralds proclaim it to the listening ear. 1,000 messengers betray it to the eye. Tone, set, attitude, and look, the signals upon the countenance, the electric telegraph of touch. All these betray the yielding citadel before the word itself is uttered, which, like the key surrendered, opened every avenue and gate of entrance, and renders retreat impossible." End quote. You may forget the subtle clues that it was about to begin, but like the moments that define our lives, you'll never forget the touch that was the beginning of love. In a sense, it's magic, able to transport you back in time. Not only do you remember it, you remember everything about the moment because of your heightened senses. The color of her hair, the sound of his voice, the fragrance of the flowers in bloom, the warmth of the sun, all magic. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. That same person was the source for this too. I asked a friend who had just returned from a long walk in the woods what she had observed. "Nothing in particular," she replied. How was that possible? I asked myself. I, who cannot hear or see, find hundreds of things to interest me through mere touch. I feel the delicate symmetry of a leaf. I pass my hands lovingly about the rough, shaggy bark of a pine. Occasionally, I am very fortunate. I place my hand gently on a small tree and feel the happy quiver of a bird in full song. Helen Keller in the Atlantic magazine. If you want to know the importance of touch, ask someone who is blind. George Howe Colt in Life magazine said, "Touch is a primal need, as necessary for growth as food, clothing, or shelter. From the nuzzles and caresses between mother and child that form the foundation of the self, to the holding of hands between a son and his dying father that allows a final letting go, touch is our most intimate and powerful form of communication." Michelangelo knew this. When he painted God extending his hand towards Adam on the Sistine Chapel ceiling, he chose touch to depict the gift of life. One of my favorite writers, Leo Buscaglia, was an inspiration for my former radio program, Lovers and Other Strangers. He said, and I quote, "Love is always open arms. With arms open, you allow love to come and go as it wills, freely, for it'll do so anyway. If you close your arms about you, you'll find you are left only holding yourself." End quote. You could always rely on Leo Buscaglia for a unique perspective on love. A gentle touch, in other words, and the freedom that is so much a part of a loving relationship. Dorothy Parker wrote, "Love is like quicksilver in the hand. Leave the fingers open and it stays. Clutch it and it darts away." Anne Morrow Lindbergh wrote, "Him that I love, I wish to be free, even from me." The book she is most famous for is Gift from the Sea. In it, she continued, "A good relationship has a pattern like a dance and is built on some of the same rules. The partners do not need to hold on tightly, because they move confidently in the same pattern, intricate but gay and swift and free, like a country dance of Mozart's. To touch heavily would arrest the pattern and freeze the movement, to check the endlessly changing beauty of its unfolding. There is no place here for the possessive clutch, the clinging arm, the heavy hand. Now arm in arm, face to face, back to back, it does not matter which, because they know they are partners moving to the same rhythm, creating a pattern together and being invisibly nourished by it." Paul G. Hewitt, in Conceptual Physics, published by HarperCollins, wrote, "For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. If you push hard on the world pushes back. If you touch the world gently, the world will touch you gently in return." End quote. This is a poem by Nan Terrell Reid. Two vases stood on the shelf of life as love came by to look. One was of priceless cloisonne, the other of solid common clay. Which do you think love took? He took them both from the shelf of life. He took them both with a smile. He clasped them both with his fingertips and touched them both with caressing lips and held them both for a while. From tired hands love let them fall, and never a word was spoken. One was of priceless cloisonne, the other of solid common clay. Which do you think was broken? Marion C. Garrity wrote, "The touch of your hand in passing, so light, so swift, that no one else suspects its loving reassurance. That touch sustains me through the hardest day." This was sent to me by a listener by the name of Juliet. She was in an airport during the time that all the flights were canceled on 9/11. This appeared in a greeting card. "Touch me in places no one has ever reached before, in silent places where words only interfere. in sad places where only whispering makes sense. Touch me in the morning when night still clings to us. At midday when confusion crowds upon me. In the twilight as I begin again to know who I am. In the evening when I see you and I hear you. Touch me like a child who will never have enough love, for I am someone who wants to be lost in your arms, someone who has known enough pain to love, someone who is sometimes strong enough to give. Touch me in crowds when a single look says everything, in absence when I reach for you through times and miles. Touch me when I ask. Touch me when I'm afraid to ask. Touch me with your lips, your hands, your heart, your presence in the room. Touch me gently, for I am fragile. Firmly, for I am strong. Often, for I am alone. And I will touch you in the same way. I would rather have had one breath of her hair, one kiss of her mouth, one touch of her hand, than an eternity without it. It's one of the most remembered lines from the film City of Angels, the story of an angel who wanted to become mortal for the love of a woman. Booth Tarkington, featured in The Romance Factor by Alan Loy McGuinness, wrote, "It is love in old age, no longer blind, that is true love. For love's highest intensity doesn't necessarily mean its highest quality. Glamour and jealousy are gone, and the ardent caress, no longer needed, is valueless compared to the reassuring touch of a trembling hand." Passers-by commonly see little beauty in the embrace of young lovers on a park bench, but the understanding smile of an old wife to her husband is one of the loveliest things in the world. It was Algernon Charlotte Swinburne who wrote, "Take hand and part with laughter, touch lips and part with tears, once more and no more after, whatever comes with years." And finally, Ernest Dowson wrote, "If we must part, then let it be like this. Not heart on heart, nor with the useless anguish of a kiss, but touch mine hand and say, until tomorrow or some other day, if we must part. So let me touch your hand and wish you good night and sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.